Chosen one, you have done something very few people are able to do when they have been hurt. You did not allow your pain to decide the kind of person you would become. In recent days, as your heart was tested by disappointment, misunderstanding, or unfair treatment, you found yourself standing before two paths. One path would have led you toward anger, retaliation, and words capable of making others suffer as deeply as you had suffered. The other path was quieter, more difficult, yet far purer. You chose to guard your heart against bitterness, to remain silent when speaking would only make matters worse, and to continue treating others with kindness, even while wounds remained within you. I saw that choice. Archangel Michael, the faithful messenger, protector and executor of my will, also stands as an image, reminding you of the courage required not to bow before provocation. Yet I am speaking directly to you now, telling you that the greatest strength you have just displayed does not lie in your ability to defeat another person, but in your refusal to let the way others treated you turn you into someone you never wanted to become. There were times when you had every reason to be angry. You knew the truth, yet you were misunderstood. You offered sincerity and received coldness in return. You tried to preserve a relationship, a position, or a bond of trust, yet others treated everything you did as though it were simply expected of you. When everything fell apart, part of you wanted to reveal everything you knew, to make them face the consequences and feel the pain they had caused. Those emotions do not make you a bad person. Anger is a natural response when you have been insulted, betrayed, or treated with contempt. I do not ask you to pretend that you are not hurting, nor do I want you to use spiritual language to conceal your wounds. What I saw and treasured was that, although powerful emotions arose within you, you did not surrender complete control of your actions to them. Your forbearance is not weakness. Neither is your silence always a sign of fear. There are times when silence is a form of wisdom, because you understand that a sentence, spoken in anger, can destroy something that years may not be enough to rebuild. You have realized that not every argument is worth winning, not every rumor deserves an answer, and not everyone is willing enough to listen that you should exhaust yourself trying to explain. You were not silent because you had nothing to say. You were silent because you did not want to use your words as weapons. That is the mark of someone who is learning to master themselves. However, my beloved child, I also want you to understand that kindness does not mean accepting every form of treatment. Compassion does not require you to remain in a place where others repeatedly hurt you. You can keep your heart free from resentment, while still making it clear that a boundary has been crossed. You can refuse to retaliate and still leave a relationship in which there is no respect. You can forgive without immediately restoring trust. Mature love does not ignore wrongdoing. It faces the truth without using that truth to humiliate another person. When you remain silent, only because you fear losing someone, fear being judged, or fear confronting conflict, that silence will gradually become a burden. But when you become silent in order to regain your peace, and then choose the right moment to speak clearly about what must be said, that is wisdom. I know that some people once assumed that, because you were gentle, they could continue crossing your boundaries. They interpreted your patience as permission and your lack of retaliation as proof that you did not understand what was happening. But kindness does not mean blindness. You can see a situation clearly and still decide not to create a greater conflict. You can know what others have said behind your back without immediately rushing into confrontation. You can recognize dishonesty without becoming someone who devotes themselves to exposing every failure. Such restraint does not make you small. It reveals that you are living according to your values, rather than allowing another person's behavior to write your response for you. There is a profound difference between suppressing anger and transforming it. Suppressing anger means pretending to be calm while continually replaying the story within yourself, imagining confrontations, and slowly becoming cold. Transforming anger means honestly acknowledging that you have been hurt, identifying what was violated, and then using that energy to make a healthy decision. Perhaps you need to speak with the person involved. Perhaps you need to step back for a while, rest, or seek counsel from someone trustworthy. Perhaps you must end a connection that is no longer safe. It may also be that part of the situation arose from misunderstanding and needs to be resolved through an honest conversation. I do not want you merely to appear noble on the outside while resentment consumes you within. I want you to be truly free. The kindness I am forming within you is not a gentleness without strength. It is a kindness that knows how to speak the truth, establish boundaries, and walk away when necessary. It does not encourage you to become the place where others empty all their chaos. It teaches you to treat people well without betraying yourself. You are allowed to say, "That hurt me." You are allowed to say, "I will not accept being treated this way." You may refuse to continue a conversation when the other person only intends to insult you. Such words do not oppose compassion. On the contrary, they help you protect the respect that every healthy relationship requires. Michael stands as an image of a protector, yet he does not teach you to become hostile. True protection teaches you to guard the door without building a prison around your heart. It helps you discern who must be forgiven from a distance, who may still be given an opportunity to change, and who has shown over time that they should no longer be allowed deeper access to your life. You do not need to view everyone as an enemy. Someone who disappoints you may not necessarily intend to destroy you. Sometimes people act out of immaturity, fear, or wounds of their own that they have not yet learned to confront. Understanding this may soften your anger, but it does not require you to deny the consequences of their behavior. Some people will apologize because they have genuinely recognized what they did. Others will apologize only because they are afraid of losing access to you. The difference is not found in the emotion of their first words, but in the way they change afterward. A sincere person will not demand that you immediately forget everything. They understand that trust takes time to rebuild. They are willing to listen to you, speak about your pain without shifting the responsibility back onto you. They will not merely promise to be different. They will allow their actions to prove it. Let forgiveness be freely given, but allow trust to be rebuilt one step at a time. Forgiveness may be a gift you offer to release your own heart, while closeness must be protected by responsibility from both sides. I have also seen the times when your response was not perfect. Sometimes you remained silent too long and eventually exploded. Sometimes you spoke sharply because you had endured too much for too many days. Sometimes you avoided a conversation and expected others to understand something you had never clearly expressed. Do not let those moments persuade you that all your efforts to grow have been meaningless. You are learning. Strength does not mean never being wrong. It means recognizing your mistakes, apologizing, and making corrections. If you hurt someone while trying to defend yourself, humbly accept responsibility for your part. Another person's wrongdoing does not make every one of your reactions right. Yet neither should you carry all the blame for a situation in which both people played a part. Look at the matter fairly, neither defending yourself blindly nor condemning yourself excessively. What brings me joy is not that you endured so much without complaint. I do not measure your strength by the number of times you allowed yourself to be hurt. What I see is your ability to choose another path after experiencing pain. You do not want to continue the cycle in which wounded people go on to wound others. You have recognized that retaliation may bring a brief sense of satisfaction, but it rarely produces lasting peace. When you sow the same kind of pain that you received, you remain bound to the old story. But when you stop the cycle, you begin writing a different future. Stopping the cycle does not mean that you must remain connected to everyone. Some endings are necessary. You can close a door without closing your heart. You can walk away without speaking badly about the other person to everyone you meet. You can defend the truth without turning the truth into an instrument of revenge. Let the way you live after the event reveal who you are. When others expect you to become bitter and you continue to preserve your kindness, you are not doing it to prove anything to them. You are doing it because you refuse to let pain steal the beautiful qualities I have planted within you. Remember, however, that kindness does not always look like a smile. Sometimes being kind to yourself means no longer explaining, no longer trying to rescue someone who refuses to change, and no longer placing everyone else's needs above your own peace. You can love someone and still acknowledge that the two of you should no longer walk closely together. You can hope that they find a better path without turning yourself into the person who bears every consequence of their choices. I have not called you to rescue everyone. I have called you to live truthfully, to love wisely, and to honor healthy limits. What you have experienced is also teaching you to look upon others with greater mercy. Because you know what it feels like to be misunderstood, you will be slower to judge. Because you have been betrayed, you understand the value of keeping your word. Because you have received words that wounded you, you will become more careful with the way you speak. This is how pain is transformed into something useful. It is no longer merely a wound. It becomes a source of understanding that enables you to create safety for those around you. Yet do not allow empathy to make you carry another person's responsibility. You can understand why someone behaves as they do, and still say that their behavior cannot continue. I want you to use this time to examine what is happening within you. Are you still replaying that argument in your mind every day? Are you hoping that the other person will fail so that justice will feel restored? Are you telling the old story so often that it has become the center of your identity? If so, gently begin laying it down, piece by piece. You do not need to forget immediately, nor must you force yourself to forgive in a single moment. Begin by refusing to feed fantasies of revenge. Spend less time watching what is happening in their life. Bring your energy back to your work, your health, your family, and the healthy relationships around you. Whatever you nurture will grow. Do not continue watering what you are trying to leave behind. If you need an apology that you never received, understand that your healing does not have to wait for that person. Perhaps they are not yet mature enough to acknowledge what they did. Perhaps they hold on to a different version of the story so they can avoid responsibility. You cannot control that, but you can decide whether you will continue, allowing their silence to define the years ahead of you. You are permitted to move forward without a perfect ending. Some doors are closed, not through an explanation, but through your decision not to return to a place that has repeatedly shown itself incapable of offering respect. Forgive yourself for the reactions of which you are not proud. Forgive yourself for staying too long, trusting too much, or saying something you should not have said when you were under pressure. Forgiveness does not release you from responsibility. It creates room for you to take responsibility without hating yourself. Correct what can be corrected, apologize where an apology is needed, and learn to express yourself sooner, so resentment does not accumulate. A lesson has only truly been received when it changes the way you live. I know that sometimes you wonder whether choosing kindness will make others believe that they have won. But my beloved child, life is not a competition in which the person who causes the most pain becomes the victor. If they hold on to bitterness while you recover your peace, you have not lost. If they continue repeating their old behavior while you grow, learn to establish boundaries and become kinder, you have stepped out of the circle in which they remain trapped. Your victory does not require their recognition. It is revealed in peaceful sleep, in the fact that you no longer tremble when you hear their name, and in your ability to open your heart to kind people, without making them repay the debts of your past. You chose to answer what hurt you with goodness, and that quiet choice is more precious than any grand declaration made before a crowd. I saw the struggle within you during the moments no one else witnessed. I know there were times when you wanted to speak forcefully in your own defense, to answer cruel words with words even sharper, and to make the one who hurt you feel the same pain they had placed upon you. Yet in the midst of anger, you stopped. You did not deny the truth, nor did you say that what they had done was right. You simply refused to let pain lead you into an action you would later regret. The angels I send do not take notice of you because of the achievements human beings usually admire, but because of the hidden choices that shape your character. Archangel Michael, the faithful messenger, protector, and executor of my will, is mentioned at this moment as an image of great courage. Not the courage to defeat another person, but the courage to overcome the bitterness seeking to possess your heart. Perhaps you believe that no one knows how difficult that battle truly was. Those on the outside saw your silence and assumed that you were not hurting. They saw you behaving normally and imagined that you had already forgotten. Some even mistook your restraint for weakness, believing that you lacked the strength to defend yourself, or that you did not recognize what they were doing. But I saw the nights when you had to remind yourself not to write anything while you were angry. I know the times when you wanted to tell the whole story so that everyone would stand on your side, yet finally chose to confide only in someone trustworthy. I know that you trembled with indignation and still decided not to hurt innocent people simply because you were in pain. That was not passivity, it was strength forged in a hidden place. What you did could be described as a response that rose above ordinary instinct. When people are insulted, they often want to protect themselves by causing pain in return. When betrayed, they may use the other person's secrets as weapons. When abandoned, they may try to prove that they need no one or rush into another relationship to cover the emptiness. But you have begun to understand that the fastest response is not always the right one. You allowed time to create distance between emotion and action. You learned to ask yourself, will what I am about to do help me become a better person, or will it merely pass this pain on to someone else? That pause opened a new path before you. I do not dismiss your anger. Anger may reveal that a boundary has been crossed, that trust has been betrayed, or that an injustice needs to be acknowledged. You do not need to feel ashamed for being angry. I simply do not want anger to become your ruler. When you use it to speak the truth calmly, establish boundaries, or leave a place that is no longer safe, it can become a source of healthy strength. But when you feed it with imaginary arguments, watch the other person every day, and hope for their failure, anger will gradually consume you. Forgiveness, therefore, does not begin when you feel that everything is all right. It begins when you decide to stop watering the desire for revenge. You did what was good while you were still wounded, but do not understand this as a demand that you must always be gentle towards someone who continues causing harm. Kindness does not require you to open your door to everyone. Forgiveness does not require you to restore access to the deepest parts of your life. You can hope that someone matures while still keeping your distance. You can refuse to speak badly about them while still telling the truth to those who hold responsibility. You can release the intention to retaliate while still seeking appropriate protection if your work, reputation, or safety is being affected. Love does not deny justice. Love enables you to pursue justice without becoming a reflection of the very thing you oppose. I want you to remember that not every silence is noble. Sometimes silence is merely fear in disguise. When you remain silent because you fear another person's anger, fear being abandoned, or fear confronting the truth, you may be abandoning yourself. Maturity is not found in always enduring without protest. It is found in knowing when to remain silent so that matters do not become worse, and when to speak in order to protect what is right. You may calmly say, "This cannot continue." You may admit, "I have been hurt and I need time." You may also say, "I forgive you, but trust must be rebuilt through action." Those words are not lacking in love. They are evidence that you are learning to love others without betraying your own dignity. Michael is mentioned as a protector because you need the courage to maintain boundaries without nurturing hatred. Some people will not like the more mature version of you because they once benefited from your habit of always saying yes, always enduring, and always returning after being hurt. When you begin saying no, they may accuse you of changing, becoming cold, or losing your compassion. Yet not every change means that kindness has been lost. Sometimes you are simply refusing to allow your kindness to be exploited any longer. Michael reminds you to stand firm against such manipulation, while I teach you to stand firm without humiliating anyone. The angels who witness your journey do not do so in order to create a record that causes you to consider yourself more special than everyone else. I do not want this message to plant pride within you, or persuade you that you belong to a rare group superior to those who have not yet learned to forgive. Every person is walking a different journey, and there may have been times when others were patient with you, while you had not yet learned to behave more wisely. Your forgiveness is only truly beautiful when it is accompanied by humility. You do not need to stand before the person who hurt you and declare that you are more noble than they are. Simply live differently. Refuse to repeat what they did, and do not pass that pain on to the next person. Perhaps you once received gentleness from someone while your own behavior was wrong. Someone may have chosen not to retaliate, even though they could have done so. Someone may have given you an opportunity to correct yourself or quietly protected your dignity when you were not mature enough to understand what they were doing. Remember the times when mercy was shown to you, so that today's forgiveness does not become a crown of self-righteousness. You are allowed to recognize the strength you have shown, but remember that everyone needs opportunities to learn. This does not mean that you must remain with someone who refuses to change. It simply enables you to leave without hatred. The image of a record being brought to Michael may be understood as a reminder that every quiet choice carries meaning. No act of kindness is lost merely because no one saw it. Each time you restrained a cruel word, another cycle of harm was stopped. Each time you chose to tell the truth without humiliating anyone, you created a different way of resolving conflict. Whenever you refused to publicly expose the secrets of someone who betrayed you in order to take revenge, you preserved your integrity. Such choices may not make you famous, but they form you into someone you can respect when you look back upon your life. I also see the cost of those choices. Sometimes you feel that it is unfair because the person who caused the harm continues living normally while you are left to do the work of healing. You wonder why the one who did wrong does not appear to carry the same burden that you carry. But my beloved child, you do not fully know what is happening within them, and life does not always allow you to witness the consequences of every choice. If you can only find peace after seeing them suffer, you are still placing the key to your freedom in their hands. A deeper liberation comes when the outcome of their life no longer determines the condition of your heart. The noblest victory is not forcing the person who attacked you to bow their head, but preserving your kindness without allowing it to become naivete. You can learn from what happened, become more careful about giving trust, and still refuse to become suspicious of everyone. You can observe people's actions, give a relationship time to prove itself, and continue believing that kind people still exist. One person who betrayed you does not represent everyone. One failed relationship does not prove that love is always dangerous. Keep the lesson, but do not allow the lesson to become a wall without a door. If that person returns, you do not need to respond by immediately restoring the closeness you once shared. Listen, but observe carefully. Is the apology specific? Do they accept responsibility, or do they continue trying to explain that you caused them to behave that way? Have they changed in their everyday life? Or are they merely being gentle because they fear losing you? You do not need to punish them with coldness. But neither should you ignore every warning sign simply because you hope the story will have a beautiful ending. Forgiveness may be offered today, but trust must be rebuilt over time. If they do not return, your healing can still continue. You do not have to wait for one final conversation before allowing yourself to live in peace. Some questions will never receive complete answers. Some people will never admit what they did, because doing so would require them to confront themselves. You may write down everything you wish you could say, and then choose not to send it. You may share it with someone trustworthy, pray, and lay the story down one piece at a time. Closure does not always come through an apology. Often it comes through your decision that the story will no longer occupy the remaining years of your life. I also want you to examine the times when your kindness was motivated by a desire to be recognized. Perhaps you forgave, while secretly hoping that others would see how noble you were. Perhaps you remained silent, while hoping that one day everyone would discover how much you had endured. That is deeply human, and I do not condemn you for it, but I invite you to go deeper. Do what is right, because it sets your heart free, not because it builds an image for others to admire. When you no longer need the crowd's approval, your kindness becomes purer. Responding above instinct does not mean denying your own needs. You still need rest, someone who will listen, and a safe place in which to express yourself. Do not try to become so strong that no one realizes how exhausted you are. Speak honestly with someone capable of protecting what you share. If the pain continues, affecting your sleep, your work, or your ability to connect with others, seek appropriate support. I do not require you to heal everything alone in order to prove your faith. Receiving help is also an act of courage. You have spread love while you were in pain, but now learn to direct some of that love toward yourself. Stop speaking to yourself with words you would never use toward someone you love. Do not call yourself foolish simply because you once trusted the wrong person. Do not hate yourself because you failed to recognize the truth sooner. You made your choices with the understanding you possessed at that time. Today you can see more clearly, and that is something precious. Take responsibility for what needs to change, but do not use your new understanding to torment the person you used to be. I do not want you to continue using forgiveness to delay a necessary decision. If a relationship repeatedly causes harm, you do not need to wait for even more painful evidence before you are allowed to leave. If an environment requires you to lie, remain silent before wrongdoing, and lose respect for yourself. Seek another path within your ability. Kindness does not require you to stand motionless in the rain, merely to prove that you hold no resentment toward the sky. You may seek shelter, change direction, and still remain grateful. The image of Michael presenting your case before a council in the heavens may be received as a symbol that your choices carry great value, but do not turn it into a story that makes you dependent upon being regarded as special. I do not need a meeting to know what is happening within you. I saw it before you could put it into words. I know how fiercely you wrestled with yourself so that you would not act in anger. I know every time you wiped away your tears and continued treating others with kindness. My desire is not to glorify you before an imagined council, but to help you recognize that you possess the ability to continue choosing what is good. And if you cannot completely forgive today, do not pretend. Forgiveness is a process, not a sentence you must force yourself to speak. On some days you may feel light, while on another day the memory may return. That does not mean you have failed. Every time the pain rises again, you receive another opportunity not to feed resentment. You may say, I am still hurting, but I do not want this pain to determine my actions. That alone is already a significant step. Remember that loving someone who hurt you does not necessarily mean remaining close to them. Sometimes, the most appropriate form of love is refusing to retaliate, refusing to speak maliciously, and also refusing to continue enabling harmful behavior. You can release them to their own journey so that they may face the consequences and learn the lessons you cannot learn on their behalf. If you continually rescue them from the results of their choices, you may unintentionally delay their growth. Sometimes letting go is an act of kindness toward both people. Continue using what you have learned to create a different environment around you. When someone makes a mistake, correct them, without humiliating them. When you hear a rumor, do not rush to repeat it. When someone trusts you enough to share their pain, guard it with respect. When you are angry, slow down before sending words that cannot be taken back. These habits will transform kindness from a rare moment into a steady way of life. What is noble is not that you responded beautifully on one occasion, but that you continue building such character throughout the ordinary days of your life.